Have you ever felt like you were in the room, but no one really saw you? Like you were speaking, but your words didn't carry any weight? It's a silent pain, being overlooked, being underestimated, being invisible, and it cuts deep. Because deep down, all of us want to be respected, not for our titles, not for how we look, but for who we are, for our presence, our values, our strength. Yet, somehow, respect always seems to go to someone else, someone louder, someone more confident, someone who walks in like they own the moment. And that leaves you wondering, what do they have that I don't? You're not alone. That quiet ache, the frustration of not being taken seriously, is something many carry. You've tried being nice, you've tried being agreeable, you've tried proving yourself over and over again, but it still doesn't feel like enough. Because here's the truth most people never tell you. Respect isn't something you ask for, it's something you command. It's not about pleasing everyone, it's about becoming someone they can't ignore, someone whose presence speaks louder than words. And the good news? That power is already inside you. You don't have to become someone else. You just have to unlearn the patterns that made you shrink and start doing what demands attention, naturally, calmly, powerfully. Most people are never taught how to carry themselves in a way that earns instant respect. They're taught to play small, to be polite, to wait their turn. But the world doesn't reward hesitation. It responds to certainty. People respect those who respect themselves first, who walk with clarity, who speak with intention, who don't need to prove anything but still show up with undeniable energy. That's what we're unlocking today. Because the moment you understand what creates respect in the minds of others, everything changes. The way you move, the way you speak, the way people look at you. No more shrinking, no more waiting to be noticed, no more hoping they'll finally see your value. You'll show them. This is bigger than getting people to like you. This is about shifting how the world interacts with you, because respect opens doors. It changes conversations. It attracts opportunities, relationships, and influence. When people respect you, they listen differently. They treat you differently. And you start treating yourself differently. That's where your confidence is born. That's where leadership begins. Not by yelling to be heard, but by becoming the kind of person whose silence says enough. Stay with me, because what you'll learn in the next few minutes will change how you show up for life. It's not theory. It's not fluff. It's not about pretending. It's about understanding what makes people pay attention, follow your lead, and see you as someone who matters. Respect isn't out there. It starts here. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly what to do to earn it. Not someday, but immediately. And once you feel it, you'll never settle for being invisible again. Respect begins in the first few seconds. Before you say a word, people are already making decisions about who you are. They're reading your energy, scanning for signals, measuring how you carry yourself. It's not always fair, but it's real. Human psychology is wired that way. Our brains are built to scan for strength, confidence, certainty. In every room you enter, people are asking themselves, can I trust this person? Should I follow them? Do they believe in themselves? And most of the time, those answers come before your mouth even opens. That's why real respect doesn't start with talking louder. It starts with being more sure of who you are. Confidence is not noise, it's presence. And presence is built on clarity. When you know who you are, when you know what you stand for, people feel it. There's something magnetic about certainty. It doesn't need to brag. It doesn't need approval. It speaks through posture, tone, and stillness. Most people try to win respect by chasing it, trying too hard, over-explaining, constantly adjusting to please others. But that only weakens your signal. What actually earns respect is the opposite. It's being grounded. It's standing firm in your values even when no one agrees. It's speaking when it matters and being silent when it doesn't. Because silence, when it comes from strength, speaks louder than desperation ever could. People follow those who seem sure of themselves. It's a psychological shortcut the mind uses. If you appear grounded, others assume you have answers. They feel safe around you. They trust you. That's why the energy you carry matters. Are you showing up like someone who knows their worth? Or are you hoping others will give it to you? Respect isn't handed out. It's drawn toward those who walk with purpose. And purpose isn't something you wait for. It's something you choose right now, in every decision, in every step. You don't need to change who you are. You need to stop hiding who you are. You need to stop questioning your value every time you walk into a room. Because when you doubt yourself, others feel it. And when you respect yourself deeply, others do too. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. And it's powerful. This is where your presence begins to shift, not by faking confidence, but by building it from within. By reminding yourself every single day, I am not less than anyone. I don't need to compete to be enough. I don't need permission to take up space. People will mirror what you project. If you carry yourself like someone worth respecting, they will follow that lead. If you shrink, they'll overlook you. If you stand tall, they'll notice. Your energy teaches others how to treat you. And the strongest energy comes from knowing your worth, speaking your truth, and never needing to prove it. You already have what it takes to command respect. The only thing left is to stop asking for it and start embodying it. Starting now. Respect doesn't begin when others see your strength. It begins the moment you decide to stop hiding it. The world reflects what you believe about yourself. And if you've been carrying doubt, if you've been waiting for someone else to recognize your worth before you own it yourself, you've been giving away your power. Real transformation starts when you stop waiting and start declaring, not with words, but with energy, with decisions, with the way you hold yourself, think about yourself, speak to yourself. The deepest respect from others only arrives after you've built it within. And that inner respect, it's not something that comes from achievements or praise. It comes from a choice to rise, to own, to step fully into who you are without apology. You've been told your whole life to be humble, to not stand out too much, to keep things comfortable. But playing small doesn't earn admiration. It only earns invisibility. People respect those who stand firm, not those who shrink. It's not about being better than anyone. It's about refusing to act like you're less. It's about shedding every version of yourself that was built to make others comfortable while you suffered in silence. Respect yourself enough to stop lowering your voice when you know you should speak. Respect yourself enough to stop saying yes when everything inside you screams no. That's the beginning of real power. And when you live from that place, you no longer chase respect. It finds you. The most magnetic energy on earth is certainty, not perfection, not popularity, certainty. And certainty is born when you stop abandoning yourself, when you trust your instincts, when you follow through on your word, when you refuse to betray yourself to belong. That's when people begin to see you differently. They don't always understand it, but they feel it. They feel the weight of someone who no longer needs permission to be powerful. And that kind of presence doesn't demand attention. It draws it. You don't earn respect by proving. You earn it by becoming the kind of person who knows what they stand for, who protects their time, their values, their peace. And that becoming happens when you finally say enough to pleasing, enough to pretending, enough to waiting for someone else to choose you. You choose you. You back yourself. And in that choice, the world begins to respond. If you've ever wondered why people don't respect you the way you know they should, start here. Look in the mirror. Not to criticize, not to doubt, but to reclaim. Because the moment you decide to respect yourself, fully, fiercely, unapologetically, you change the rules. You set a new standard. And people will either rise to meet it or fall away. But you won't shrink again. You've already spent too long asking for what you had the power to become. Respect isn't out there. It begins the moment you finally return to yourself. Fully, completely, without hesitation. The words you speak shape the way people see you. But even more than what you say, it's how you say it that commands attention. Power doesn't come from talking more. It comes from speaking with purpose. Every sentence, every pause, every silence sends a message. And when you speak with intention, you change the energy of the room. The most respected people don't rush to fill silence. They don't explain themselves over and over. They speak when it matters, and when they do, people lean in. Because there's weight in their voice, there's clarity, there's conviction, and that energy makes others listen, not out of obligation, but out of respect. When you speak from your core, from your truth, without needing validation, people feel that. The human brain is wired to pick up on emotional signals. If your words carry fear, people sense it. If they carry strength, they respond to it. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. In fact, those who command the most respect often speak the softest, because they know the value of what they're saying. They don't throw words around to fill space. They use their voice like a tool, sharp, deliberate, and precise. And that precision makes every word hit harder. If you find yourself talking too much, defending your point, or needing others to agree with you, pause. Ask yourself, am I speaking to be heard, or am I speaking to prove something? Real confidence doesn't prove, it expresses. It doesn't chase agreement, it stands on truth. When you trust yourself, you stop needing others to validate what you say. You stop fearing disagreement. And you stop wasting energy on words that don't serve your purpose. Every time you speak, you are either building respect or breaking it. The way you use your voice tells people how they should treat you. Speak as if what you say matters, because it does. There's power in being brief, in cutting through the noise, in choosing silence when others expect noise. That's presence. That's control. And control is deeply respected. It shows discipline. It shows awareness. It shows that you're not driven by insecurity. You're driven by purpose. If you want others to listen to you, you have to first listen to yourself. Be clear on what you believe. Be sure of what matters to you. When that clarity exists inside you, your voice carries it forward, and the world begins to respond to that certainty. You don't need a louder voice. You need a stronger one. One built on truth, sharpened by clarity, and delivered with presence. People don't respect empty volume. They respect energy that's focused, aligned, and certain. So the next time you speak, don't fill space. Fill minds. Don't rush to talk. Pause to lead. Let your words become instruments of intention. That's how you command respect. Not by shouting, but by mastering the silence between your words. Speak less. Say more. Let your voice echo with purpose, and let that purpose lead. People don't respect perfection. They respect realness. Strength is not about always having the right answer or never making mistakes. It's about owning who you are without pretending. Too many hide behind masks, trying to impress, trying to fit in, trying to be what others expect. But nothing repels respect faster than inauthenticity. The moment people sense that you're not being real, they disconnect. Because deep down, everyone is looking for truth. Everyone is searching for someone who dares to be genuine in a world full of performance. That's why authenticity is magnetic. It shows confidence. It shows courage. It shows that you value yourself enough not to fake anything. You don't need to have it all figured out to be respected. You just need to be honest. Honest with your words, honest with your energy, honest with yourself. When you show up as you are, without shame, without apology, people feel safe around you. Because they know you're not trying to manipulate them, you're not trying to impress them, you're not trying to be liked, you're just being. That kind of presence is rare, and anything rare commands attention. Respect grows when you stand in your truth even when it's uncomfortable. When you admit your flaws without shrinking. When you speak your truth even when it's unpopular. That's power. Because it's not easy. It's not easy to be real when the world rewards performance. But the people who truly lead, the ones others follow, are never the most polished. They're the most grounded. They're secure in who they are. They've done the inner work. They've stopped hiding and started living from their core. The truth is, you've spent too long trying to be what you think others want. You've edited yourself, softened your edges, doubted your voice. But that's not why you're here. You're not here to be a copy of someone else. You're here to stand in your own space, in your own skin, and become undeniable by being exactly who you are. That's how you change everything. That's how you earn the kind of respect that can't be shaken. Start choosing authenticity over approval. Start choosing your values over your image. Start choosing truth over comfort. Because the people who truly matter will respect you more when you stop performing for them and start showing them your real self. And the ones who don't, let them go. You were never here to be understood by everyone. You were here to be respected by the right ones. Respect doesn't come from how flawless you appear. It comes from how fearless you are in being real. And when you choose that path, the world may not always clap, but it will listen. You'll walk differently. You'll speak differently. You'll attract differently. Because authenticity shines in a way nothing else can. Drop the mask. Let them see the real you. That's who they'll remember. That's who they'll follow. That's who they'll respect. When you raise your standards, you raise your value. People treat you based on what you tolerate. If you accept disrespect, you invite more of it. If you allow your boundaries to be broken, they will be. But the moment you decide that your peace, your time, and your energy are not negotiable, everything changes. Respect begins when you stop compromising who you are to keep others comfortable. It begins when you stop explaining your worth and start enforcing it. Because people don't follow what you say, they follow what you allow. You teach people how to treat you. Every time you stay silent when you should speak, you reinforce the idea that your voice doesn't matter. Every time you give your energy to someone who drains it, you send the message that your time isn't valuable. But the truth is, it is. Your presence has weight. Your attention has power. Your time is a currency, and the way you spend it defines how others see you. You don't need to convince anyone to respect you. You need to show them that you respect yourself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't align with your worth. Setting boundaries isn't about being cold. It's about being clear. It's about saying yes to what lifts you and no to what drains you. And when you do that consistently, people learn where you stand. They stop testing your limits because they know you have them. They stop crossing lines because you've drawn them in bold. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They're filters to protect your peace. And the stronger your boundaries, the stronger your presence becomes. Respect flows naturally toward those who live with integrity, who say what they mean, or who follow through, who don't chase attention but command it by standing in truth. It's not about being perfect, it's about being disciplined. When you consistently live by your values, when your actions match your words, you become unshakable. That kind of alignment builds trust, and trust builds respect. You don't need to raise your voice to raise your standard. Let your energy speak. Let your choices speak. Let your refusal to lower yourself speak. People will notice. They always do. Even if they don't say it, they feel it. The shift, the strength, the certainty. You're no longer seeking validation. You're living in alignment. You've stopped proving and started protecting, and that energy is impossible to ignore. Every time you say no to something beneath you, you say yes to something greater. Every time you honor your boundaries, you reinforce your value. Every time you hold your ground, you show the world that you are not here to be used, dismissed, or overlooked. You are here to lead, to rise, to stand in full ownership of your worth. And when you live that truth out loud, people don't just notice, they respect it instantly, because true respect doesn't respond to noise. It responds to self-mastery. Be that. And everything changes. People don't respect what you say you'll do. They respect what you consistently do without needing to say it. Actions reveal everything. Not once, not twice, but over time. Discipline is the language of respect. It shows the world you mean what you say, not because you announce it, but because you live it. When you move with discipline, people watch. They feel the weight of your consistency. They notice that you don't need reminders, motivation, or approval to stay committed. That's when they start taking you seriously. Not when you talk about goals, but when your daily behavior reflects them without exception. Your habits speak louder than any speech you'll ever give. How you start your day, how you handle difficulty, how you treat others when no one is watching. These small, invisible choices build a reputation that no one can deny. And when people see that you operate by principles, not by moods, they respect you more. Because most people are guided by emotion. They react. They give up. They choose comfort. But when you're the one who stays focused, who keeps going when it's hard, who holds the line when others drop it, you rise. You stand apart without needing to try. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's quiet. It's often thankless. But it's what transforms your life from average to powerful. When you train yourself to do what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it, you build an inner foundation that nothing can shake. And people feel that. They sense that you're not easily swayed, not easily distracted, not easily broken. That steadiness becomes a signal. It tells the world you can be trusted, depended on, followed, not because you say so, but because you show it every single day. Respect isn't earned in the spotlight. It's earned in the silence, when no one's watching and you still choose excellence. When you keep promises to yourself that no one else will ever know about. When you say no to shortcuts and yes to the long road, because that's the path that shapes real power. The world may not applaud you for it, but it will respect you for it, because discipline is rare, and anything rare commands attention. There's a part of you that wants to break your own limits, and there's a part that wants to quit. The part you feed becomes your future. Every time you choose discipline, you choose to rise. You choose to become someone even you can admire, and that's the foundation of all external respect, self-respect. When you walk in integrity, when your life reflects purpose, people don't just notice, they adjust. They treat you differently because they have to. You've made it clear through your actions who you are and what you stand for. Be the one who follows through. Be the one who doesn't make excuses. Be the one whose presence speaks before words are ever needed. Because when your life becomes proof of your discipline, respect doesn't take long to follow. It becomes automatic, unavoidable, undeniable. Respect follows certainty. When you walk into a room with clarity about who you are, what you stand for, and what you will not accept, people sense it. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to defend it. The way you carry yourself becomes the message. Certainty speaks in silence. It radiates through your posture, your eye contact, your decisions, and your discipline. Most people live in confusion. They second guess. They look around to see what's acceptable before they act. But when you are anchored in your values, when you trust your inner compass more than the noise outside, you lead, you influence, you rise. The world doesn't follow those who doubt themselves. It follows those who know where they're going, not because they're the loudest, but because they're the clearest. There's something powerful about someone who no longer needs to be liked, who no longer needs to explain, who is done negotiating with their own worth. That level of conviction can't be ignored. It cuts through distraction. It commands attention because certainty is rare and the human mind is drawn to it. In a world of hesitation, confidence is magnetic, but confidence is not ego. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. Real confidence comes from knowing who you are without needing permission. It comes from doing the work day after day to build a life that reflects your truth. You don't find it by chasing praise. You build it by facing resistance, by standing firm when it would be easier to fold, by choosing growth when comfort is more convenient. And every time you make that choice, your certainty grows stronger. Your presence sharpens. Your voice becomes more grounded. And people feel it. You don't have to dominate anyone to earn respect. You just have to be so solid within yourself that nothing external can shake you. That's where real influence begins, not in trying to be above others, but in refusing to shrink for them. When you stop seeking acceptance, you create space for authority. Not the kind that demands compliance, but the kind that draws people in without a word, because they feel safer around you. They feel more focused around you. They feel stronger around you. That's what certainty does. It uplifts everything it touches. Stop watering down your presence to avoid discomfort. Stop hiding your truth to keep the peace. The world respects those who are unapologetically themselves, not aggressive, not arrogant, just certain in their values, certain in their mission, certain in their direction. And when you live with that kind of focus, others start to shift in your presence. They speak to you differently. They carry themselves differently around you because they recognize something most people don't have, the courage to be fully aligned. Be that person, the one who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't shrink, the one who doesn't wait for approval. Build your certainty from within and let it echo in every room you enter. Because when your direction is clear, respect is not optional. It becomes instinctive. People respect those who remain calm under pressure. When chaos erupts and emotions run high, most people react. They lash out, break down, or retreat. But the ones who rise above it all, the ones who breathe deeply, stay centered, and respond with intention, those are the ones others look to. Because in a world full of noise, stillness is strength. When you learn to master your emotions instead of being controlled by them, you earn the kind of respect that silence demands. It's not about suppressing your feelings, it's about owning them, recognizing them, understanding them, and choosing how you respond, no matter how loud the world becomes. Emotional control isn't weakness. It's maturity. It's discipline. It's what separates those who drift from those who lead. When people see that you don't crumble under pressure, that you don't lash out when criticized, that you don't beg for attention or react from insecurity, they realize something powerful. You are rooted. You are stable. You are not moved by every gust of wind. And that creates trust, because people instinctively follow those who remain steady when everything else is uncertain. To stay calm in the storm is to communicate unshakable power. It shows the world that your peace is not up for grabs, that your reactions are not dictated by circumstance, that you choose who you become in every moment. And that choice is what defines your presence. The more grounded you are, the more magnetic you become. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because people crave the kind of energy that doesn't collapse under pressure. They crave stability. And when you become it, they respect it without hesitation. Your emotional state speaks before your words do. If you enter a room with scattered energy, people feel it. If you speak from anxiety, they hear it. But when you operate from a place of calm, from clarity, from collected strength, your words land differently. Your presence carries weight. People listen more closely. They treat you with greater seriousness. Not because you forced it, but because they can feel the difference. You are not reacting, you are leading. This kind of self-mastery isn't built overnight. It's earned through intention, through moments where you want to break but choose to breathe, moments where you want to explode but choose to reflect. Every time you choose control over chaos, you become more powerful, more respected, more trusted. Because while anyone can raise their voice, very few can raise their level of awareness. That is rare, and anything rare is valuable. Don't just chase power. Embody it through composure. Don't just demand respect. Earn it through calm strength. Show the world that your peace cannot be taken, your energy cannot be manipulated, and your mind cannot be shaken. Be the calm in the storm, be the stillness in the noise, and watch how people look to you, not out of fear, not out of obligation, but out of deep instinctive respect. Because in a reactive world, your control becomes your crown. Respect grows in silence, not the silence of passivity, but the silence of inner power. When you stop feeling the need to explain yourself, defend your choices, or chase validation, you step into a higher frequency. You stop operating from insecurity and start moving with purpose. People feel that. They sense when you're no longer performing for approval. When you're no longer desperate to be seen, you become impossible to ignore. Because the loudest presence in any room is the one that doesn't need to prove anything, the one that knows exactly who they are and lets their energy speak louder than words. You don't need to announce your worth. You need to embody it. Quiet strength carries more weight than loud desperation. When you walk into every situation already grounded in your value, people adjust their tone. They speak with more care. They listen more attentively. They watch more closely, not because you demanded respect, but because you moved as someone who doesn't settle for less. The most powerful people don't chase attention. They attract it. They aren't concerned with being liked by everyone. They're committed to being respected by the right ones. It starts by valuing your time. When you stop wasting it on people who drain you, conversations that lead nowhere, and distractions that steal your focus, your energy shifts. You stop being available for mediocrity. You become more intentional with your presence. And people notice. Because when you no longer say yes out of guilt or fear, your no begins to mean something. It becomes a boundary that teaches others how to treat you. Boundaries are not walls, they are standards. And standards build respect faster than words ever could. The way you talk to yourself also matters. If you constantly doubt, criticize, or minimize your own potential, the world will mirror that energy. But when you speak to yourself with conviction, with clarity, with unshakable belief, everything begins to shift. You start walking differently, thinking differently, showing up differently, and respect follows. Because confidence is not a performance, it's a pattern, a choice, a decision to align your thoughts, your words, and your actions with the highest version of who you know you're meant to be. When you stop giving away your energy to things beneath you, you rise. You elevate your presence without needing to force it. And others feel that elevation. They feel your shift in standards. They feel your refusal to settle. They feel your silent strength. And they respond with admiration. Respect isn't something you request. It's something you command through the way you carry yourself. And the more consistently you live with that kind of integrity, the more naturally it flows toward you. Let your silence carry authority. Let your decisions set the tone. Let your presence make the statement. Because when you move with intention, speak with clarity, and live with unwavering standards, you don't just earn respect. You redefine it quietly, powerfully, permanently. Self-respect is the origin of all external respect. If you don't honor yourself first, no one else truly will. It doesn't matter how much talent you have, how much you achieve, or how kind you try to be. If you keep violating your own standards, the world follows your lead. People watch how you treat yourself. They notice how you speak about your own value. They absorb the way you carry your boundaries, your habits, and your commitments. And without realizing it, they mirror what you've already accepted. That's why nothing is more powerful than deciding you are worthy. Not someday, but now. Not when you're perfect, but while you're still growing. You can't command respect from others while disrespecting yourself in private. That means showing up for your own growth, even when no one is watching. It means keeping promises to yourself. It means walking away from situations that insult your soul, even if your heart is attached. It means choosing alignment over approval and peace over popularity. When you start moving that way, your energy changes. You stop begging. You stop chasing. You stop lowering yourself to fit into spaces that don't recognize your worth. And when you rise like that, people notice. They feel the difference. They respond differently. Discipline is one of the purest forms of self-respect. When you take care of your body, your mind, and your goals, you're not just creating progress, you're creating presence. A presence that's felt before you speak. A presence that makes others instinctively treat you with care. Because when you treat yourself with seriousness, others follow suit. They don't second-guess your value because you don't either. Respect is attracted to the self-aware, the self-governed, the self-led, not the perfect, but the committed. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you've always been, beneath the doubt, the fear, and the conditioning. You don't earn respect by pretending to be more. You earn it by refusing to be less than your values, less than your potential, less than your truth. That requires courage, the courage to be misunderstood, to be judged, to stand alone if necessary. But it's in that solitude that your self-respect solidifies. And from that place, you stop tolerating anything that compromises your integrity. You begin to expect more, not out of entitlement, but out of alignment. And when you live in alignment, everything changes. You stop needing to force respect because your life starts reflecting it. The way you speak, the way you walk, the way you engage, each moment becomes an extension of your inner standards. And that level of inner congruence is rare.